Hello, you lovely listeners. I'm Amy. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast, where we will delve into the minds of the business people we have met in the process of launching our first card game. We will be uncovering their secrets to success, their biggest mistakes, and sharing the key lessons they have picked up en route. So, if you're looking for an engaging chinwag mixed with business insights and a good pinch of fun, you're in the right place. Let's have a really good conversation. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast. Today I am joined by Sarah Ward, the CEO of the Giftware Association, the UK's leading trade body dedicated to supporting the gift and home industry. Recently, Sarah has been named on a power list of influential women in the trade association, and Sarah has elevated the community and education within the industry. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah.
Thank you, Amy. A very nice intro. I
don't feel I even said enough there for what your knowledge, experience probably covers, but hopefully gives our listeners a little bit of a taster as we get going. But thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell our listeners and myself a little bit more about your background into the world of, retail and branded products?
Yeah, of course I can. Well, actually, funny enough, I spent my whole career in this industry in some capacity. So I started off in a shop. Actually, my first ever job was putting paninis, baguettes and pan chocolates and croissants into warm at 6 o'clock in the morning in the centre of Bath for a French patisserie at the time. Bit naughty because I was actually still at a boarding school and wasn't meant to have a job, but wanted to have my own money. But my dream at that time was to be an interior designer. And so when I started work in the baguette shop, I also then worked a couple of evenings a little later on when I was old enough to in a local pub, which I absolutely adored, and did Sunday lunches and things along with silver service waitressing and anything that could earn me a bit of pocket money. But I kind of became a little bit entrepreneurial because I then persuaded my the French patisserie place to buy a one of those ice cream bicycles.
Oh yeah.
And I said, wouldn't it be great that in the summer holidays then I could sell ice creams away from the shop in the centre. If you've ever been to sort of Bath, it's absolutely beautiful, but in the Bath Abbey courtyard. So we ended up doing that, and very sensibly, I had agreed with the owner to split the proceeds, and I actually ended up making a fortune, much to his disgust. But my desire was always to be an interior designer. I had a placement with a well-known designer in Bath, but unfortunately, like a lot of these things, when you're young like that, she didn't want to pay me. So it was all about experience. And so I thought, well, I've got to have something that's relevant, and got a part-time job in Habitat alongside still working at the bakery and still working in the pub. I don't know how, I've forgotten now, but for whatever reason, somebody who worked in the Big Next down the road then ended up asking me if I wanted to go and work with them. And it was utterly amazing. I mean, I think for anyone who probably even, I think now, Next is a, fantastic retailer, but in those days more so, you got lots of training. So I went in and I worked within the interiors floor. In those days, I learned how to measure for curtains, used to go and visit people's houses. They used to do beautiful sofas and things. So you would work with some very nice people, organising that. Yeah, I would wallpaper room sets in the shop, and I absolutely loved it. But quickly, I ended up then, as a lot of things, just ending up having more development and learning new things. The store manager was excellent. She, at 18 years old, she was asking me to cash up with her of the shop. It was a very high turnover store. And that led me into becoming the youngest ever store manager. Then I went to work with Arcadia, had fantastic fantastic opportunities like opening Blue Water Shopping Centre, which in those days, I mean, literally I stood there with a hard hat on when in the middle of a quarry.
Wow.
To then see the building take shape, to then recruiting all the staff, ending up running, huge job at the time. Then I went back into central London as a regional manager. Then an old boss of mine asked me to come and work for Coast. I mean, how amazing was that? And then I ended up working alongside her and a couple of other fantastic people to actually set up all the Coast shops all over the country, train all the staff, brand the business, choose the beautiful dresses. And then young mum, retail was very demanding in those, especially then of, I was hardly ever at home and it became consuming. And I realized in my early 30s that wasn't necessarily the direction that I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted. And so I actually found myself stumbled upon a wholesale opportunity. And again, that wasn't, what I intended to do. Didn't have any wholesaling skills. I was a retailer through and through. But I ended up, driving forward a very respected gift packaging company, taking it from hardly any turnover to a multi-million pound business and selling all over the world, selling to some fantastic people. And for about over 11 years, I ran that.
Fantastic.
And then on my 40th birthday, decided that it, again, was time for a change. And again, didn't know what I wanted to do and found myself without a job on my last ever trade show, actually, which was the Autumn Fair, ironically, 20 years ago now. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I didn't realize I knew a lot of people, and like people do, something presents itself to you, not that you're intending. I hope not to offend anybody that's worked within a trade body, but I had a perception that it was very, very public sector, that it really wouldn't suit my character. And actually, I probably was right. But being able to come in and work alongside some people who wanted to see it evolve and change and give me the remit to do that has been what I've been doing for the last 9 years. And I couldn't think of a better place to work.
Fantastic. And I think, gosh, just from that journey that you have taken us through, from the bakery to the pub to starting out in retail and managing, nationwide shops and then obviously into wholesale, you've probably seen it all, or you've seen a hell of a lot of things.
And I do find, it makes it easier having empathy to any business. It doesn't matter how, if somebody's thinking about coming into this industry, or they are the owner or an incredibly senior manager. I work alongside some incredible people that are, running huge companies and have an enormous amount of skill, but at least I feel like I have a empathy to them because I've actually, in some small way, at every point in my career, done everything that somebody is still doing today.
Yeah. Wow, that's brilliant. So as you mentioned, you've been in the Giftware Association for the past 9 years. Can you explain a little bit more about what the Gift Association does? Because as I mentioned to you, before we embarked on this world of creating our cards and did our first trade show, I always say that first trade show was like opening Pandora's box. And suddenly we're in this world of retailers meeting all these amazing, fascinating, interesting people who are in the sector that you just really didn't know existed. You didn't know either these jobs or these roles existed. And it's been a huge learning curve for us, certainly. So, tell us a little bit more about the actual Giftware Association.
Yeah, I think it's funny, isn't it? My favourite saying for the last year has probably been, you don't know what you don't know. And I wish, exactly like you, I wish that, especially when I was a wholesaler, if I'd have known that an industry body was out there to support and advise me, I would have taken advantage of that. And fascinatingly, there is an association for every single thing. That including an association for associations, which I think is just brilliant. But
Yes.
literally everything that you can imagine, there is a trade association for. And effectively, they are there to support companies with whatever business needs that are specific to their industry. In the main, most will be like us, not-for-profits, have some sort of charitable arm. And the team and I, it's something that is done. You literally have to know what the needs of businesses are. So on a day to day, I will spend majority of my time self-educating to have an awareness of everything that might be needed, wanted, or likely to come up for a business in today's world. And then our responsibility is to help to communicate that and support those companies so that they can thrive. So important sides of that are that for me, I have governmental parliamentary meetings and roundtable groups I belong to, that I twice a year will be involved with the Bank of England. They will want to learn about our industry, see what the challenge is, or the positive things that are going on for businesses, and make decisions. So there is an important element to that, which I am very, very passionate about. We are your voice, any company that's there, again, there are things on a day to day that really impact businesses, but who helps to get that voice out there? Well, when I was in retail, you couldn't walk into the government and just say, I'm not happy with this. You're making the ability to do trade really, really difficult, but actually a trade body can.
Yeah.
That's our role, that's the conduit to communicate. And if I'm really honest, Amy, I still think there's a huge gap between, that's one of the things, I'm trying to not necessarily lobby, but work with other like-minded people in my sector, so that we can see about getting more skills, training, knowledge, because probably like me, when you were at school, no one, I was advised in my careers bit that I could work as a nursery teacher, or, I should go on a little Secretariat Pitman's typing course. It had never interested me to learn how to type, why that was suggested, or, so what it wasn't doing is giving me good knowledge of what type of careers could have been out there for me.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that as well. Yes, I remember speaking to some sort of careers teachers at college and such, but, and again, no disrespect to them, is their role as a careers advisor, but then they haven't actually worked in any of the other jobs that exist. No. So it's not until you go down these paths, and as I even touched on, finding out people that roles exist, toy agents or things like that, and you think you don't even know that these are the industries and careers and all the different opportunities. And I think, again, sort of growing up, it was, well, you had a Saturday job in retail, but then perhaps that was just potentially a short-term plan. Whereas there's so many other opportunities and avenues and skills you can obviously learn in the industry.
Well, that's the thing, isn't there? I mean, we all now surround ourselves. I mean, even when you go to a trade show, the amount of incredibly skilled people, I mean, and even, a lot of the bigger businesses, the people who drive a forklift truck, the ones that, in the background are sorting the IT for the business, they're incredibly skilled and well-paid people.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lack of knowledge to young people as to making those kind of, career choices, or like now, in our industry, people can make some family choices around running a business and their life and still, get the reward of that, but equally earn a decent income from it.
Yeah. And you touched on trade is a particularly important topic. How have you ended up becoming such an advocate for trade, and particularly with women in business and trade?
I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? When you, when somebody asks you questions like that, because I wouldn't have ever seen myself as somebody that would have stuck my neck out for women in business. And I don't think I am on I think it's just by default, isn't it? Of you find yourself in those. I mean, I don't know if it's because I did go to an all girls boarding school, you know, and that was for different reasons. You know, my father was in the army, and that was a good place for me to have my education and stuff. And actually, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I felt very comfortable in a school that was just women, and you know, doing lots of things with my girlfriends that I'm still friendly with today as 50-year-old women, growing up, you know, from early teenage, well, I was 11 all the way through, probably made me feel quite comfortable around in that sort of arena. I also think that more over the last couple of decades, we're realizing that our skill set, managing being a mum, the challenges, the fact you beat yourself up so much, that's probably the biggest element. I've done it. I've gone through, you know, 20, 30 years of constantly feeling that I've got to be a bit better, that I've got to be able to juggle everything really, really well. And that's not always possible. And I think it's, you know, we're talking about it a lot more, but you realize then that, you know, you can only have those conversations with people who can understand what you're going through and relate to that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that in my current stage right now. Definitely feeling that, trying to do everything all at once and be amazing at all of them. And you then feel like you're not amazing at any of them.
No, and I think that that's just different, isn't it? You know, we have, and you know, that doesn't matter, but to be, especially when there will be other business ladies around there who will, you know, be going, oh my gosh, I've got to leave because I've got to do a school run, or I've got to get this, or I've do that, and how difficult it is for them has made me just feel that, you know, I can champion a bit of that with them, and help them to understand that they're not alone, and that we're all still going through it.
I think that's definitely what I've particularly loved with connecting with people on this podcast is I always chat to people before or after we record, and we're often sharing the realities of exactly what you're explaining, that we're all going through it. Everyone's sort of on this sort of roller coaster together, and I think nobody's got it totally cracked. So, and it doesn't matter, and we're all giving it a go. When it comes to trade, what do you think that small and medium-sized businesses should be considering if they are looking to go into international markets?
Well, I think before they're expanding into, if it is an international market, it still comes back to one of the fundamental basics of a lot of SMEs or people starting up their own businesses, that in the first year, a business will generally fail because of financial implications. It's never about necessarily the product or the people or that they're doing something wrong. It will be financial support. And I think, again, with making a step into international markets, is first making sure that the business is sound, that it can financially afford to stretch itself, because any of those decisions that they make are big decisions and can often be very costly in both resource, you know, time, people, and financial, that you've almost got to have a really decent savings account built up to be in order to invest with it. And then, of course, at that stage where you're ready for that, without getting on a soapbox, is ensuring that you have spent enough time researching, building up your knowledge. That doesn't matter how that looks like. There's not generally any right or wrongs with stuff. But what there is a lack of gathering information to make really good, sound business decisions that you feel really comfortable with. We're all guilty of the fact that you meet somebody at an event or talk to somebody and they'll give you their advice, but then often people will jump on that advice and make a decision. Whereas if I can give anything, it's please arm yourself with variable types of advice and then make the decision that's right for you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And what are some of the most significant challenges that you see businesses do face in international trade?
There's so many. There's a myriad of different ones. I mean, at the moment, the obvious challenges especially with the bigger companies, the medium-sized to bigger companies, will be things like shipping. Anything out of your control will always be challenges. Acts of God, they
Yes.
do really happen. The cost side of things, coming into things thinking that it's going to be, you price it up a certain way and then find that actually the reality is that it will cost you a lot more than you initially expected. And legislation. Again, that's a little bit of education and knowledge area that often people can find themselves looking to go to a market where maybe their particular product, there will be legislation that makes that harder to do trade. Yeah.
Now, before I go on to some of our questions from our pack, more, I guess, broadly, and it may be trade, but beyond, what are some of the key challenges you're seeing facing businesses in the gift and home sector at the moment?
Well, again, like anything, you could talk to 10 companies and you'll get 10 different viewpoints. For obvious reasons of size, experience, product sector, etc. Top of the sort of views at the moment will be legislation or, we have had a government change. There has been, post-Brexit, post-COVID, an incredible amount of paperwork, administrational challenges that any size of business will face. We're coming into new ones now. On one hand, you've got things like the packaging taxes that are coming in place and that will affect every SME. So you'll see, quite a number of organisations like ourselves trying to lobby against that because it's going to be extremely costly to businesses. In terms of sustainability. And then you can go to some of the more simpler ways. It's just really hard sometimes to meet a buyer, to communicate with, if you're a supplier, which is in the main, the companies we support are supplier based, then the biggest area that they find or the hardest challenge is, how do I get in front of retailers, buyers, and how hard that is for something that, you would have thought communicating should be an easy thing. So I would probably say an enormous amount of our time is trying to support companies through navigating that. And again, that's not, if we had the answer, it would be brilliant, wouldn't it, to everything? Because there's not, but just different ways of doing that. And often sometimes just listening to people and giving them a different take on stuff can be hugely helpful to them.
I think it's sometimes having the opportunity of almost that therapy session. For Alex and I, we are husband and wife and work together all in this. And, friends and family know what you're doing to an extent, but then actually, if they're not really in the industry or they haven't had their own business, they don't really know. So then having that external person who is separate, you can almost just download all of these are the things we've got going on. So that is brilliant. That's fantastic. And actually, yes, the last thing I will ask you, what do you love most about the industry? Obviously, you've been in it for many years, in different forms.
Yeah.
What is it that excites you still?
People. Just the people. I do. It was actually Chris within our team that, what was it? It was at Spring Fair that one of our service provider companies, which is actually a recruitment firm, and they do a lot more besides, they do a lot of skills and training aspects of their sort of business. And they were doing an interview to grabbing people exactly like you're doing and asking. And funny enough, I don't know why, but I was running around as usual, and they grabbed Chris and he went through what he loved about his job. And they said, oh, what would you answer for Sarah? And he said, oh, that's really, really easy. It's people.
Yeah.
And it is for me. Yeah. I love the sort of product, and having been a wholesaler, and actually probably in my retail times, one of the nicest things I liked was a Monday morning meeting that was often tough with the board for Coast, having to sit there knowing what my figures were or everything. But the highlight of my day was then I knew that Monday morning meeting, in would come the buyers and merchandisers with all the new dresses or clothing.
Oh, lovely.
For what might be coming into the stores. So product, is something I've always been interested in. And I think I've got a pretty good eye of.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. I love that. And I can totally see that, because just the small experience we've had so far with the industry, we're going to the trade shows, chatting to just fellow business owners or people who, the shop owners as well, and just, hearing people's journeys. And I think this is ultimately obviously why I created the podcast, to sort of bring some of the stories of the people that we have met on this journey so far, because it really is fascinating to hear just some of the things that people are up to or creating that you just don't really realize is out there. Right, I'm now going to ask our questions from our pack. So I've picked some cards from the Really Good Conversations for Kids Volume 2 questions. So question number 1. If you could have a secret magic door in your room, where would it go?
Oh, a secret magic door. Well, if it's secret, then I'd have to keep it away from the boys in my house. I would have it actually at the back of my lounge, because it's strange in my house, actually, because I've got a little old apple press. So the center of the house is actually the original part of the building. So in its initial times, where they would throw the apples in and put them through the roof. So there's a little hatch in my lounge at the back, which is where the apples would have gone through. And I think it would only feel right in my little house to put the magic door there. I would imagine that it would, I know that it should go through there up into my bedroom. But actually, if it's magical, then it won't, will it? It will be like the 9-year wardrobe. And so it's going to go through there, and it would teleport me on my travels to foreign places. Definitely, it would take me to lots of Italy I haven't seen.
Brilliant. That sounds awesome. I definitely would love a teleportation door. Question number 2. If we didn't have electricity anymore, what would you miss most?
That's quite funny, because I know electricity isn't tech or anything like that, but I am dreadful. I mean, I will often leave my phone at home. My son will call me, where are you? What are you doing? And I have no idea, because I just don't want those things around me. So I don't think that I would miss electricity all that much, really, genuinely. And thankfully I've got gas central heating, so so that would be all right. Oh God, it's really funny. I don't think it would probably be the radio. It would be the radio. I'm a bit of a sucker for listening to magic, and I would prefer to do that than have the radio on in the background rather than the television. So that's my number one electricity user.
Oh, well, it sounds like you could survive quite well.
I would do, and certainly from the amount of lovely, gorgeous candles that amazing businesses seem to either gift to me or I end up buying. So, the electricity wouldn't be a problem in the house if it went off now.
Brilliant. And question number 3. What is something new you would like to try?
Oh, new that I'd like to try. I know this is going to, I did do some volunteering quite a few years ago when I lived more in the countryside than I do now for the hedgehog rescue. And I have been saying for a little while that I want to do more things like that. They'd definitely be in the animal sort of things.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's great answers. Thank you. And the final question that I like to ask all of our guests is, if you could ask any person, dead or alive, a question, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh, God. Do you know what? Actually, I find this quite easy. I have two female icons that I don't know, for people who know me, they probably make sense. But the two people that since I was very young that I've admired, the first one always is more obvious to people, which was Audrey Hepburn. I just thought she was just incredible. I loved her, just the whole demeanor of her and how she came across, her style, obviously, but that little bit of naivety that came across, but actually she was an incredibly strong lady and did some phenomenal things. And that links me to my second one, who is my guilty pleasure. I am a huge Dolly Parton fan.
Oh, fantastic.
Massive Dolly Parton fan. And where I live in Nottingham, a previous partner that I was with, unfortunately, there was Dolly came to Nottingham and I had no idea, and I hadn't got tickets, and I literally for years have just think that was my missed opportunity. And I would be there's so many questions I'd want to ask Dolly Parton, but the first would be just picking her brains a little bit on, as a phenomenal business person. I mean, isn't she incredible? Runs the most incredible business. She's hugely talented, but yet she's so open as to her, personal life challenges and everything that 5 minutes with her would never be enough at all. I don't think I've answered what question it would be.
No, but I love it. But sometimes it doesn't need to be a specific thing, because I can just see, obviously we're on video here, so I could just see your passion and excitement just even at the prospect of if that opportunity arises. So that is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then where can people find out more about the Giftware Association or connect with you as well?
Yeah, so hopefully it's fairly straightforward to get in contact with us. All our phone numbers, email address are easy to find on the Giftware Association website, which is we've just changed it actually to giftware.co.uk. And we also as well, Gift of the Year. I know we haven't talked about that, but being the biggest industries awards at the moment is in full swing. So again, giftoftheyear.co.uk has got all our contact details on there.
Well, I will include those links in the show notes for sure and give it a shout out. So thank you so much for your time today. I know there's so many other topics within the industry we could even deep dive into, but I think that just is almost a small insight into your world and the work that you're doing in the industry. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a really, really good day.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information on today's guests. And if really good conversations are your thing, hit subscribe and join us next time for more business journeys, insights and banter.